Hi, welcome back to another Terranscapes video. Today I'd like to show you a GW Realm of Battle board set that I recently finished for a customer. It's sort of odd the way things go in little patches, as I hadn't had any request to finish one of these sets for quite some time. I think probably more than a year or two even. And then all of a sudden I got a couple requests real quick. They don't take a terribly long time to finish, so sometimes I'll squeeze them in between orders and pick up one or two here and there. And this customer in particular wanted me to finish it with a snow scheme. Now, I had done a GW board set in the past with a snow color scheme, and I learned quite a bit from that, and I didn't quite like the way it came out. It came out, it was nice, but I think I could have done a better job. So I really went into this one with a very different kind of attitude and probably ended up with an effect that's fairly common if you look at the GW site and you see the kinds of snow that they do over their boards. This is maybe not the most original way to do it, but I think it's one of the more realistic ways. And with snow, one of the real challenges is getting it to bond really well to the boards and to have good seam coverage on them at the end as well. And also dealing with those skull pits. I don't know. Of course, the world of Warhammer is, this much soil and then this much skulls underneath the ground. So let's take a look at how I handled that and what I ended up coming up with, and a few other features about these boards. So taking a sort of aerial view of these two boards, and I should say I'm not going to show all the boards in the set. There are 6, but they've all been finished in a very similar way, and I will include a picture in this video of the entire board set so that you can see that. But taking a look at this, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to have snow piled in some areas. I wanted a uniform coverage along the edges so that the seams would join up without any real apparent, and to reduce the seam as much as possible, and try to avoid having a very square look on the finish in terms of each board, so that I avoid sort of a checkerboard pattern when the entire set is put up on a table. This receives a blend of snow flock that I use. It's actually Woodland Scenic Snow blended with a Nock Snowflake Snow, which gives me a little bit of an in-between of the granularity and the soft powder with a few flakes that glint in the light. I don't know. I like it. It's my personal preference. But one of the other things so what I did is I went in and I included some patches of snow, and I'll show you some of these up close in a minute. I tried something new here as I went in with some Flex Paste, which is a Woodland Scenics product they use to base under snowdrifts, and it really brightens up that spot and gives it the illusion that it's a little bit deeper and a little more opaque. I was a little unsure about it, so I didn't put too many large spots of this on the boards, but looking at the finished product now, after several layers of snow have been applied, I really like the way it came out, and it's something I'll definitely be doing in the future. Included a little Flex Paste along that edge as well, small amount, something like that to give the appearance of depth. The boards were finished, underpainted in an Ashland waste scheme. This was something that GW had devised on there. I don't know if they still have it on the site, but it's basically pouches of brown and a little bit of red in some of those areas, and then dry brushed over with something to the equivalent sort of a Codex gray, and then highlighted with the rocks receiving a little bit of a brighter facing. So that's what I did underneath these boards prior to applying the snow. And then up in the corner, what I did is, in the skull pits, is I wanted to finish them as sort of ice ponds. Now, my goal originally was to have the skulls poking through it. I wanted a semi-translucent layer of ice, and it ended up being a little bit darker than I expected. Not darker, I should say, but, more opaque. So a few skulls barely poke through, but overall, the depth and the transition of the ice through that really came out nicely. There's another patch down here. And I really like the way this ice came out, and I'm glad, because I haven't really done large patches of ice like this before, and I was a little unsure, but I took a look at Woodland Scenic's Winter Scene Tips video. If you haven't looked at that, you should probably take a look. And in that video, they explain how they do their ice, and I basically modified that for my own. So I wanted to give you a real close-up of the ice patches, at least a representative one. They all came out with a very similar texture and depth. And if you take a look, see if that's going to show up, you can see a few skulls sort of poking out just a little bit. But to be honest, because of the opacity of the ice, they end up almost looking like little rock nubs coming up unless you stare at them really closely. And there's a few, you can see them just poking through. Anyway, I thought that was a suitable alternative to the typical, sort of pits of skulls. I don't know, they're kind of fun, but they're a little weird sometimes. Depends on what you're looking for. But one of the things I wanted to do is give the ice a semi-glossy look, have some snow drifting onto it to give it, a more of a frozen feel, and hit the right color of ice. And this has got some white pigment blended in, and just the micro dot of ice blue, GW's old ice blue. Of course, they just changed their product's name and formulation, so it'll be something new in the future here. But that gives you a sort of an eye view of what the boards look like, of course, with that drifted snow in the corner there, what the rock faces look like as well from this perspective. The snow itself is a pretty good bond to the surface. It was applied in multiple layers. It took quite a few sealing layers as well as a matte clear coat at the end. With aggressive rubbing, you can still free up a few granules, but overall this is going to provide a very durable surface. It's going to last for a long time of gaming, and I think it's probably about the best bonding you can probably get without mudding it in with a thick layer of glue and really losing some of that granularity that is so important to the realism of a look of snow. And lastly, and you'll see a picture of these on the board if I haven't already included it in the video. But lastly, the customer requested a set of the Martian Buttes finished to match the board with the snow scheme. And so what I did is went in, painted them in some very cold grays, and then gave them a good heavy dusting of snow. And they really came out nicely. The nice thing about these Buttes is that with these little cuts here, there, hither and thither, it gives a chance for a place to have some snow pile up in the nooks and crannies, and it cascades off these steep faces pretty well, and it gives it a really nice look that gives it a pretty frosty feel and fits in really well with the overall board theme. So I'm really pleased with the way they came out, and it kind of shows just a little bit how versatile different kinds of pieces can be finished. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the snowboards, the snow finish I should say, on the Games Workshop Realm of Battle boards. And I just want to put out there before I get requests, I'm sure, there are going to be a few people who view this video and hope maybe I could finish a board set for them. And right now, I am back to being backed up with orders for the near future, so I won't be able to accept any more pieces for work, at least for the next 3 to 4 months. I recently reopened the store, then I shut it back down after getting in a certain amount of orders, and I have some ongoing projects that are going to occupy quite a bit of my time for the future. So, unfortunately, I won't be able to take on any more, but saying that, who knows, maybe towards the end of the year I might be willing to take on a few more pieces. So there are a lot of great terrain artists out there, and I'm sure you might be able to find somebody else who could take on that kind of a project for you. But I just wanted to put that out there before I get several requests. So thank you once again for joining me for another video. I do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave comments down below, and I'll talk to you soon when I have another video to put up.